and that trend holds in this state poll from Wisconsin. She lost 5 points this month, but those points didn't go to Trump. He lost 1 as well. Jill Stein gained 3, Johnson 1, and the group of people who said they have no preference grew bigger by 2. Well, it hasn't been an easy month for Clinton. She's faced questions again and again about the Clinton Foundation and the drip, drip, drip information from the investigation over her use of a private email server. And today, another headache in the form of a headline that former President Bill Clinton used tax dollars to subsidize the Clinton Foundation and private email support. The Clinton campaign responded quickly, calling the story egregiously false and saying the server was paid for with private funds. So, does Clinton's poll slide have more to do with her own unpopularity than it does with voters liking an alternative option? Joining me now, former Michigan governor and co-chair of Hillary Clinton's transition team, Jennifer Granholm. Governor Granholm, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yep, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
So let's start off with the optics of this week. Secretary Clinton has largely been off the trail. She did have, we should note, her strongest month of fundraising yet, more than $140 million in August alone. But the broader question, Governor Granholm, should she be visible right now, given that we're seeing Donald Trump on a daily basis?
Yeah, but why are we seeing Donald Trump on a daily basis? Because you guys are like totally glomming on to everything this guy says because it's so interesting to watch the car wreck. I mean, she was out there
to be fair,
2 days
he's
ago.
Actually out on the campaign trail, and she hasn't been.
But she was out there talking about, for example, a mental health plan policy, but we got just almost nothing. She was talking about a small business strategy, almost nothing. I mean, it is very interesting. Now, you were talking about the poll numbers, and it is true. As Tim Kaine suggested, that everybody expected this to close a little bit. But, you know, a couple of interesting numbers out of the Suffolk University poll, which was out today, which showed, one, that under 10% of people are undecided, sort of in line with what you were just saying. So the question about who people are vying for is a very narrow band. So it's almost, you know, things are baking in the cake. And then there were a really couple of interesting numbers that came out of the Fox poll, which said that right now, more people trust her on terrorism and the economy, which was flipped before. More people trusted him. So the underlying issues, I think, are still favoring her very strongly.
Well, and I take your point. When you look at the internals, it gets a little bit more complicated. But the reality is the polls are getting closer. And yesterday you have a day when Donald Trump is out there. He's standing next to the president of Mexico. A lot of people thought from an optics perspective it looked pretty good for him. Can she afford to cede that type of airtime to him, given that the polls are getting closer?
Well, let's just say, I mean, I'm not sure she wants the kind of airtime that he's getting, in the sense that, you know, he goes to Mexico and has one experience and comes back and has a totally different one, apparently, when people on his campaign are ship because he's so extreme. I'm not sure that's the kind of airtime that she wants to be having, but believe me, she is going to be out there every day fighting for the votes that she needs. And I think that the poll numbers, which all still show her ahead in the battleground states, those poll numbers, I think, demonstrate that people trust her to be commander-in-chief, and really that's what this is all about.
I want to go back to that Politico story that you just heard me talk about in the introduction, saying that the Clintons essentially paid for the private server with taxpayer dollars. The Clinton campaign
but that's not true.
Pushing back against that. But let me ask you the broader point. Okay, fair enough. But let me ask you the broader point. But let me ask you the broader point. Should they go a step further when it comes to the Clinton Foundation and say, hey, right now we are going to stop accepting foreign donations. We are going to stop accepting donations from large corporations, to kind of put one of these topics that's on the table off of the table?
Okay, I mean, they have said that if she wins, they're absolutely going to do that. But, you know, as you know, there are 11.5 million people who are relying upon the good work of the foundation, and nobody doubts that the foundation is doing life-saving work across the globe. But they've said they will not accept any foreign donations, corporate donations. If she is elected, it would be kind of presumptuous to assume that that's going to happen before the election, before people have actually had their say. But Kristen, let me just say, you talk about that political story this morning. This is what's so frustrating. I mean, Donald Trump is out there calling for deportation force for 11 million individuals, ripping families apart. He's got so much baggage. There's so many stories every single day about him. And this story today gets all of the headlines on her side, a political story which is false, which said the headline was totally false. And they've had to retract it, and they have pulled it down because it was false, saying that taxpayer dollars paid for her. That was not true. So the frustrating part, I can just tell you, on the Clinton side, is that when you compare these stories, which are false stories, like the AP story last week, which again was really egregious.
And Governor, to be fair, we did say that it was. We have been very balanced in terms of our reporting, and I take your point.
Okay, but wait, just one question, Kristen, just on this. So you talk about the conflicts in the foundation. You guys have spent a huge amount of time talking about that. Why hasn't there been equal time given to the $160 million of loans that he has to the Bank of China, and asking him, how is he going to unwind that? He hasn't had to respond to that.
Well, we have spent plenty of time talking about Trump and his immigration policy and his business dealings, but let me just get you to respond to something, an exchange with Casey Hunt, my colleague, and Vice President Biden from earlier today.
Yeah, okay.
Has the Clinton Foundation always been 100% ethical, in your view?
Look, I think the Clinton Foundation, like all foundations, have found themselves in a position where things are changing, and I think she's going to change and adjust to the realities of how complicated it's all become.
And is she clearing herself up enough with that? Should the foundation have stopped taking foreign donations now?
Well, I think you'll see them stop taking foreign donations.
Your reaction to that exchange, Governor?
He says that they're going to stop taking foreign donations. They will stop taking foreign donations. They have announced that.
All right. And just more broadly, are you concerned, and again, I take the point you're making earlier, but these stories seem to stay in the headlines. And as you know, Secretary Clinton has gotten criticized for not taking more questions from the press. Would you like to see her do that in the final 2 months of this campaign?
And my guess is she's going to do that. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't have inside information on that, but I am certain that they are going to continue, and she will be out there continuing to answer those questions. But here, you know, Kristen, and I just want to say to the media, I mean, there was a story 2 days ago about Trump and his modeling agency encouraging the models that they brought in illegally because they were here on a visitor visa.
Governor, we did cover that story.
But I'm just saying, just this little tiny blip of a story, and here he's pasted his whole campaign atop an anti-immigration platform. Isn't it huge hypocrisy? I don't know that people understand that, and yet we
Governor, understood, but we've brought you on here to talk about Secretary Clinton and her campaign. We did spend the first portion of this show talking about Donald Trump and his campaign and some of the criticism that he's been getting. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to some of the recent criticism that Secretary Clinton has been getting.
I don't want to be a jerk about it, Kristen. It's just frustrating about what seems to be an unfair false equivalency.
Final word. We are heading into the home stretch of this, the final 2 months. What do you anticipate from Secretary Clinton in terms of how active she's going to be on the campaign trail and her surrogates like President Obama and Vice President Biden?
Oh, sure. I think that people are going to be out there full force. The stakes are so high. People are concerned about the closing of these polls. People are not going to take anything for granted, and they want people to understand what she is doing and what she will do to fight for them, to create jobs in America, to make sure that their health care is taken care of, education. They want people to know that she has a full suite of plans to be able to make America better, and believe me, everyone is going to be out there full bore.
All right, Governor Granholm, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Kristen, you bet.